month, which is the one and only Jim J. Doyle. Give him a hand.
Can you introduce me too?
Yeah, introduced by
Thank
the
you.
one and only Caroline King.
Okay, so just to let you know, one of the reasons that we are talking to Jim today is because he has just had his first £5,000 month in his business.
That sounds good.
And would it be fair to say, Jim, that you've been with GTeX a little while and there's been some ups and downs in your entrepreneurial journey?
Ups, downs, transitions as well. So I started off with a fairly broad spectrum of being an energy healer and working with people in lots of different ways in a very broad spectrum. And it's not a very efficient way of running a business, at least the way I was doing it.
Okay, so then during the summer, you know what Aboriginals do? They go walkabout. Guess what Jim did? Please tell us about your OMG moment.
Well, I went walkabout. In this case, no, I didn't get my little swag bag and head off across the burning desert. I put my tent in the back of the car and decided I was going away for 4 days, and I just needed time on my own. And my wife said, okay, fair enough. She's used to things like that, fortunately. And I headed off to places like the White Horse at Uffington and Avebury and places like that, not knowing where I was going to stay each night. Just my time was my own. And it was fascinating because I haven't done anything like that in years, and having all that freedom and, well, just to be. And obviously thinking about what I was doing and where I was at. And I had this insight, which was, well, I've been working with people with all kinds of problems at all levels, and I've been helping them with their properties. So if I put the two together, I think somebody had said something to me as well and possibly prompted it before. If I put the two together, then if I get people who are struggling to sell their properties or to rent them, they've got a very specific pain, a real big one, which is really hurting them, and they've exhausted all the logical possibilities by this time, then they need to dig deeper, and I can help them with that. And by working with those people, then, depending on different cases, I can use every skill that I've acquired over the years and should love doing it. And I might even make more money out of it.
Okay, so obviously the technical term for this is niching. Just in case we haven't connected the dots yet. This is the power of niching. So tell us a little bit more about what you've done to implement that niche, how you went about it, and therefore how it's got you that kind of turnover in the last month.
Well, it was kind of magic, really, and I'm not kidding, because as soon as I said what I was doing, people, hadn't spoken to many people, they said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I've had a problem, or somebody else has had a problem, and then I realised that in my online network and physical networking, I know so many people, in some estate agents to all kinds of different solicitors as well, who are in property. There's just this huge proportion of them. And it was like, it's been staring me in the face for the last 2 years, and I didn't see it. And so I've worked with a number of properties, and some of them are ongoing. And the kind of things that have happened are, and hold on, but it may sound crazy, but it's what's actually happened. Somebody who has had a property on the market, HMO, with tenants in it, for a year, over a year, apparently had nothing but silly offers. Now, I worked on it and distantly, and 6 days later, they got 2 identical offers. Now, to be fair, they were lower than they would have accepted a year ago, but the market's changed a lot in that time. And they accepted one of those offers then. Somebody else I've worked with, that was last year actually, this is one of the historical ones, a friend who lets out 2 rooms in a flat to students came to me and said, Jim, all these people keep coming and saying it's lovely and I'll be back, but nobody comes back for 2 months. So I worked on it, and 10 days later it was fully occupied and paid up. So it's about sprinkling sort of invisible dust on invisible situations and making the bad things go away. Or the mindset of the owners come into alignment with actually really being in alignment with what it is they say they want to do. So, for example, I know more than one couple who have significant second properties to sell, and one of them is really struggling financially, and it's hurting them a lot. But it took me about 5 minutes to identify, a bit longer to tell them, that one of them really wanted to sell, but the other one wasn't quite so keen. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I can't work with them because they're not yet sorted out. They haven't got the intention of going ahead with it. Yeah.
Okay. So you said a little bit earlier on that you were working with lots of different people around different issues to do with energy, mm-hmm. and lots of various different problems. So are you still working with these people?
Yes.
Are they still coming to you?
Yes.
So I suppose what I'm getting at is so many people get quite scared about niching down because, if you like, property and your way of working with people is very, very specific. And I think what people would be scared about is, if I do that, all of these other people I could be helping won't come and find me.
Well, I think the problem that I know the problem I've been struggling with for some time is that, if you like, the admin or the marketing overload to get a client in, and I was too damn good at what I did, because 2 or 3 sessions, most people had got what they wanted. It's like, okay, so then I've got to go out and go fishing again. And occasionally some of them would come back to me. So I had very few long-term clients. So it wouldn't matter whether I charged a tiny amount or a large amount, it's still hard work. Mm-hmm. And now I feel that I can be much more relaxed about giving a free session or spending, an hour or two with a couple or investors or something like that, to work with them, to give them insights and feel totally at ease about it. And I'm also not worried about being turned down, because I'm only going to get a small percentage of people who are not going to say, oh yeah, I'm not sure about that. Well, I can, which is fine, because I only want to work with the people who are comfortable going as far as they need to get their problem solved. Mm-hmm. So because it's larger contracts,
yes,
then I have that freedom and flexibility, and I don't have to chase for so many clients.
So by niching down, you have being able to, if you like, reach more people because you're much more specific with your message that's going out there, and people are therefore coming in. And then because they are people in property, they stay on as clients because they've always got other properties they need help with. I nodded in the wrong place early on. I haven't got any yet who've stayed on, but it's certainly looking like that in one particular case. I've only been doing this a few months, remember. Mm-hmm. So, and I went to a PIN, Property Investment Network, last night, and I was speaking to a number of people, and someone said, oh yeah, what's this? And then they get it, and some more go, oh yeah. And I was speaking to somebody from Eastern Europe and saying, yeah, what we say in our country is that your house chooses you. Right.
So that brings the whole kind of vibe into context.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So benefits of niching have been that people are going to be able to find you more easily. Because what you're putting out there is a very concentrated message.
But underneath it, I've got this great big triangle underneath that is not necessarily there. I've got a very closely defined problem, if you like.
Yes.
I would call it a closely defined problem rather than a niche.
Okay.
Because there are people there in this very specific situation. They've exhausted all the probabilities. They're blooming screaming. They're really struggling. They've got a problem, and most of them will be in a place to try something else.
Okay. And when you've helped them with that specific problem, do you find that they are perhaps beginning to look to you to maybe help with other problems they might have?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So tell us a bit more about that.
Well, without going into too much specific detail, somebody I've worked with, they've been struggling to raise finance on a property. and they've raised finance on it in the past, and no problem, a number of years ago, and had no problem, and it's all been paid off ages ago, so it should be no problem, done before, and they've had crazy problems with the lenders, and the agent says, well, this should work, and we use this lender. It's like, no, it's just crazy stuff going on. And one of the things I do is muscle testing or dowsing or whatever to measure where in time there's a trigger for this. And I was including ancestral, and I was getting that some of their very specific ancestors, so a couple of 150, 200 years ago, something happened back there that was affecting their mindset and their energy, if you like, about getting the money. Now, obviously not the detail, but essentially that ancestor's house was burnt down by state-sponsored terrorism.
Ooh.
Yeah. But they said, oh, yeah, that was like so-and-so, this and this happened. But, of course, and they're just dismissing it lightly as though it's irrelevant, but it's not. And they now know, and we haven't done lots of work on it yet, they now know and understand and accept that does feel like it could be part of what's going on.
Oh.
It's called epigenetics is the magic word.
Epigenetics?
Yep. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's all this ancestral energy that comes down, which can affect us going way back.
Okay. Oh, goodness. So,
If
yes.
I can give you an example,
Go on,
another bit
yes.
of potential epigenetics could well be. So if you had, say, your great grandparents or something were from Yorkshire, yeah, and it was their attitude to life was, in our family, we only buy land, we don't sell land. Imagine if that vibe was coming down, you might be struggling a bit with it. Could be just
Okay.
under the surface.
Brilliant. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Can you give us another example?
Okay, right. I love being put on the spot. Yeah. Sorry, I've got loads and loads of examples. Well, I'll give you a case history I worked on years and years ago. My wife and I were visiting a friend who's an estate agent in the south of France, and all the rest of the staff were out and about, and so we were just chatting away, and I said, oh, have you got any properties that are stuck, don't move? And she said, oh yeah, hang on a minute, I got this one here, and handed them this brochure, very glossy, beautiful, shiny Mediterranean, €1 million, etc. Yeah, and it's been on the market for ages and virtually no inquiries. Yeah, and I said, oh, I'll have a word with it. And I sat in the corner and had a word with this property, and we left shortly afterwards, and as we went away, let the heat out of the car, it was cooking down there, came back, and we're driving just towards the office door, and we saw somebody going in and went, no, it couldn't be anything to do with that. It was somebody who'd rented the property 15 years before, who'd come to inquire about buying it. Now, they didn't buy it, but I don't know. That's the sort of stuff that happens sometimes.
Okay. Wow. I just want to pick up on something you just said a moment ago, which totally intrigued me. You said you had a word with it. Now, I don't know, did anybody else pick that up? Yeah, no, I thought you did as well. So you had a word with it. What does that look like? What does that mean? What exactly did you do?
Well, I didn't go blah, 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 like that. So what I did is at a deeper intuitive level, I kind of connected to the property, even though I didn't physically know where it was, and set the intention that everything that was out of balance with it would be brought back into balance, is the simple way of describing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So when things are out of balance, as we know has happened in some of our venues, yeah, things can be not quite right. Yeah. Like earlier on this evening, there was a light going flickering over there. Yeah. It stopped, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Amazing, yeah. Well, I had a word with the little thing that was flickering the light. I didn't shout, I just had a quiet word with it.
Shout. I can't imagine you shouting. So when you say you have a word, do they kind of talk back?
Sometimes, sort of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe it's just in the attitude they.
There's an attitude.
There's an attitude.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
And
a little
how-
sort of yellow monkey
A yellow monkey.
that was over there on the light earlier on.
Oh, right. And
Yeah.
what was does the yellow monkey represent something, or?
It might well represent a little yellow monkey that belongs in another time and space. It just happens to be crossed over into here.
Okay. Wow.
You did ask.
No, I know I asked. Okay. And then what? So the little yellow monkey's gone,
As far as I know.
as far as
Yeah.
you know.
The lights
Wow.
stopped flickering as well.
And the lights stopped flickering. And did you ever find out whether they sold that €1 million house?
Actually, I sent her an email about a week ago. I haven't heard from her, so unless she's on holiday with the proceeds, I'm not sure. I will let you know on that one.
So if you had some words of advice to entrepreneurs out there, especially those who are perhaps a little worried about this niching idea, or that sort of bringing things down to something a little bit more specific, what would you tell them?
Oh, so you wanted me to distill my wisdom of all my errors. Okay, I'll give it a go.
Of all your errors, I like that.
Well, the tendency I've had, when I've attended the Explode business sessions, is to say, right, okay, I'm niching down to this, which is okay and feels sort of all right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go and the client phones up and says, I got this, yeah, okay, fine, yeah, okay. And then they got this and this and this. And of course I can do this and this and this. And then I'm back into my old patterns again.
Ah,
Yeah,
I see.
because I can do all of this.
Yes.
And I think part of it is going back to the GTeX sheet, that parking place on there. It may be very hard. It may be very hard to stick things on there. It's kind of Teflon coated because they keep falling off.
Okay, for those who are on the wrong side of the camera, Simone is over there taking full credit for this and doing all of this, everything else, because that was one of his things that he put on the canvas.
Yeah.
And he's really, really proud of it. Having said that, it is very useful, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room at the moment in the mastermind who can attest to the use of the parking space. So tell us some of the things that are in your parking space.
I'm still in transition. That was one of my mastermind areas because I'm literally in the process of putting my main focus online, or my primary focus online, as being getting the properties to move. But behind that, there's a lot of deep personal development work that may or may not be required for the individuals. So, and that's what I've been doing for years. So I'm not letting go of everything else I've done.
No.
I am letting go of I've let go of my speaking confidence, because to me there is no difference. Yeah. To me, there is no difference between a problem with confidence and being ill or your house not selling. It's all just energy out of balance.
Okay.
So I'm dropping completely the speaking confidence.
Okay.
If somebody needs some help with it, sure, that's
fine, but
relevant. But not as a primary activity.
But now you don't actually have to market it.
Exactly.
You don't have to put the time and money in.
And the frustration
And the
for failing at
frustration.
it because I'm only half doing it.
And, yes,
Yeah.
half doing something because we haven't got to where we need to be with our business. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you so much, Jim. It's been a delight to have an insight into how you do things, because I know it is a little bit different. But that's what makes things so wonderful about having so many different people in this community who are really just amazing. So thank you so much for that, Jim, and well done for being Member of the Month.
Thank you.